everybody, this is Miss Moriarty, and I'm here to discuss with us our first video on agricultural practices. Remember, as you watch the video, you want to make sure that you are jotting down notes. You can use the follow-along notes that are posted to Classroom, or you can write it down on a separate piece of paper with a pen or pencil. And just note that come Monday, I'm going to ask that you use the notes that you're supposed to be taking later today for the activity that we're going to do on Monday. So here we go. So here are some examples of some common farming methods. Ones that we're probably most familiar with are conventional agricultural methods. So this is with industrial agriculture, where labor is going to be reduced and machinery is going to be heavily used. So we're going to be using things that are going to help to harvest massive amounts of crops versus traditional farming, which is still often used in developing countries where human labor is going to be used a lot more frequently than machinery. We can also see what's called shifting agriculture. This is used in areas that have maybe nutrient poor soils. So this involves planting in an area for a couple years until the land's going to be depleted of its nutrients, and then moving on to another area and then repeating the process over again. And then lastly, you have nomadic grazing. So this is moving herds of animals to find productive feeding grounds. So guys, here is what's called monocropping. Now, monocropping is a really popular method, especially in conventional farming. And this is where you plant a single species of plant in a very large field. And you can see that in the picture here. We see that the machinery being used is going to be harvesting our one type of wheat plant here. And what that's going to do is that's going to increase our crop yield, and it's also going to increase our profit. But the downside to monocropping, guys, is the fact that you're only planting one single species. So you're going to be decreasing the biodiversity of this given land. So that's making it more susceptible to natural events or maybe even disease and pests. We can also see what's called desertification. That's where we find soils are going to be degraded over time due to agriculture and to a point in where they're not going to be productive anymore. You can kind of see here in the map that we have, right? We've got the vulnerability here. Looks like right out west in the US is quite vulnerable in terms of desertification. Some areas of South America looks like more likely in Brazil there, areas of Asia, Australia, and then some areas of Africa as well. And think about, this is where majority of places we see planting lots and lots of crops. And so over time, that's going to desert then the soil. Now, how do we prevent desertification? How do we change monocropping? Well, we have to now implement sustainable agriculture methods. So that's still producing enough food for everyone to eat, but not destroying the land, not polluting the environment, and reducing biodiversity. So how do we do that? We can implement a couple different methods, one being what's called intercropping. So that's two or more crop species are actually planted in the same field as the crop that you are harvesting at the same time. You can implement crop rotation, so that's rotating crop species from season to season and rotating the soil over. You can implement agroforestry, so that's actually planting trees within the vegetables that you're going to be harvesting to help stabilize the soil structure. Or even contour plowing, so that's plowing and harvesting parallel to the land in order to help prevent erosion. So here are just some picture examples of what I was mentioning earlier. Right, here's intercropping. Right, we plant certain species of crops in between the desired crop species that we want. Here's our contour plowing here. So here we can kind of follow along with the slope of the land to help prevent the erosion of soil. And here is an example of agroforestry. So here we actually plant trees in between the desired crops, and we do that to help stabilize the soil because the roots of our trees are going to help to stabilize. And then lastly, guys, one more sustainable agriculture method that we can implement is something called no-till agriculture. We kind of talked about this in our A Day of Farming interactive, right? You had to choose whether or not you wanted to till or not till the land. And if you can remember from the interactive, tilling the land means turning over the soil, right? Creating more aeration in the soil, but oftentimes that leads to a lot of soil erosion. And so, to help stop soil degradation, you can simply just leave the crops behind, and that creates the crops' residues in the fields. And not tilling that land after each and every harvest can actually help to maintain the soil structure as well as help to turn over nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, which are things that plants need in order to survive. All right, guys, that's the end of our video. You want to make sure that you took notes while you watched the video. Please mark this as done, and you will be using these notes on an assignment on Monday, so be ready.